Welcome in to the Tuesday Fun Astrology Podcast. Thomas Miller, glad that you're here. Thanks for stopping by. Yesterday we talked about basically Mercury. Focus of yesterday was Mercury moving into Taurus. We also talked about the moon in Cancer, which it still is all day today. So no other sign changes, no other energetic changes in the chart today, except that at 1:26 p.m. Eastern Time this afternoon, Mercury will square Saturn. We talked about that at length yesterday, so that's pretty much in place. What I really thought we might focus on today is painting the picture of Mercury in Taurus, first of all, in otherwise normal times, and then we'll take a look at what this particular configuration might look like. Now, I'm going to do, at some point, I'll figure out the best way to do this, but part of my weekend absorption into this was taking a look at what is a very significant thing that is going to be with us and will set the stage really for the next couple of years. And that is this square between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus, and I'm not going to go into that today, but Uranus in Taurus, we've already kind of set that up as financial realignments. That was searching for really easy words so early in the morning. Yeah, shakeups, right? Unexpected surprises, change for the sake of change, scrambling, ruh-roh, Scooby, ruh-roh. So that's Uranus in Taurus, financially. So that's, as we take a look at nations and individually, that's kind of what that energy represents. Now, let's bring Mercury into the picture, because if we were to talk about spunky little Mercury in any other kind of form or fashion, moving from Aries, hot, fiery Aries, into very earthy, mellow, Venus-ruled Taurus, we would have really a pretty nice picture, where everybody was being really snappy. And I think online, boy, it was really reflected. And that's that Aries Mercury energy. Hot, fiery, steamy, quick, insulting, warrior. Well, so Mercury now moves into Taurus. So let's just take that picture. Because if everything else was normal, and of course it's not, Mercury would be earthy. It would be grounded. It would settle down. It would calm down. It would quiet down. It would think before it spoke, right? You would. I'm personifying all of us inside the characterization or the archetype, as they say in astrological circles, of Mercury. Right? You would be more grounded. You would feel more centered. You would curl your toes into the earth before you thought or spoke. You would scratch your chin if you could touch your face, and you go, yeah, let me think about that and get back with you. Your conversations would also be seasoned by Venus's beauty and elegance and charm. And you would be thinking about things related to home. You'd have a strong preference of wanting to anchor to home. Mercury doesn't just involve communications. It's also several other things. It's how we learn. It's our education, at least in the formative years. And I think it also includes continuing education. It involves commerce and transportation, moving around, short travel especially. You could categorize airplanes in that, for example. All of that would be grounded. All of that would be smoothed out. I think there's also an element of sibling in there, too. That's at least third house. Mercury rules the third house. But we'll just set that aside and keep it in mind, but not embellish it right now. Okay, so from the standpoint of things are not normal, what are we dealing with? Well, we're dealing with Mercury, first of all, that has tipped into a front door gate that is armed and manned by Uranus. It has also stepped into a mousetrap or a rat trap called square with Saturn, which is happening today. So right now, as we start the day, Mercury has already clocked off 1 degree, almost a degree and a half, actually, of its transit through Taurus. So it's sitting here at this square with Saturn, and then it's 5 degrees away from its conjunction with Uranus. And let's not let Mercury get too far into Taurus before we recall that when it went retrograde in Aries, remember, fiery, sharp Mars, warrior Aries, and it went retrograde and it retraced back into Pisces, was really the height and the culmination of the worldwide panic around this virus. Was Mercury's influence, was Mercury's energy a contributor to this situation? I think absolutely yes. Again, as above, so below. Are we going to call it reflective or influential? I'm not sure. But I do think that the archetype or the energy of Mercury reflected the pinnacle, as Mercury was doing what we always know it does very well, is screw things up when it goes retrograde. So now, do we interpret this, again, through pure astrological interpretation, which would say that this Saturn in Aquarius has not been anybody's friend at all, and now it's square with Mercury? What does that do? And Mercury is definitely in the magnetic influence, if you will, of Uranus's zany, crazy, wacky, come out of nowhere as you least expect it, unpredictability. How was that for a string? But that's Uranus, and you can just hear it. You can look at the chart. You can see the 5 degrees of separation. You can see Uranus is kind of big-shouldered. It's wide, it's open. Mercury's kind of thin and narrow, and you can just see Uranus saying, "Come on into my lair, young Skywalker. Welcome to the Force." Somebody, I was in a tiff with some folks last week on my personal page on Facebook, and that's why I shut it down. I just was tired of the ignorance that's out there right now. But somebody was engaging, and they said, "Thomas, I think you've lost your mind." Yeah, well, we're bringing it here now. Okay, so what could this possibly look like? Well, one, it could just look like astrological normal. We could be talking about possibly some subduing or some tapping on the brakes of some of these areas. It looks like right now, though, that things are starting to open up. And that could be the Saturn influence, right? It could be that we just have a setback. We could have a setback. That could be an astrological interpretation. Or maybe just nothing at all. Maybe the Uranus field is stronger than the Saturn square, the Uranus conjunction. Because we do have this stellium going on. So like I said yesterday, are the 3 planets, which is a very strong energetic union. When Mercury stepped across the line from Aries into Taurus, all of a sudden we have 3 horsemen with a lot of energy. Mercury, Uranus, the Sun. And that is trine, as I said yesterday, with Pluto and Jupiter. So maybe poor Saturn just is outruled, overshadowed, just null and voidified. Because if we really concentrate on that trine between a stellium in Taurus and then this Pluto-Jupiter energy up in Capricorn, that could be a really nice pull. Now, those of you who are following astrology and you're saying, where is this guy getting a trine? Because by degree, it really isn't there. It's marginally there, Jupiter to Mercury just today. Listen to yesterday because I talked about it. It's a sign or house-based trine, pulling in an ancient astrology technique here. So based on that, we really could be where things just finally kind of start to settle down and become more earthy, like we talked about at the very beginning, of those characteristics of what communication might look like. We'll see. Let's just put our eyes on it and see how it unfolds. You know what I think the takeaway for today is, let's really focus on the power of this stellium because it's just going to get tighter. As Mercury gets closer to Uranus, these 3 are going to become one. So maybe that's what we pick up with tomorrow. let's talk about a stellium of Mercury, Uranus, and Sun. And I'll come up with a fun name so we can remember what the stellium planets are. And maybe that energy is going to be, like a black hole. It's going to be very, very strong, and it will kind of dominate the chart here for the next couple of weeks, actually. All right? Maybe that's a good place to pick up. Have a great day. Stay safe. Take care. See you tomorrow for, hump day already? Really?